back in about 1968, a friend of mine at church, well, he was a friend of my daddy's and my mama's, and I went to church with him. He asked me if I wanted to go to his daddy's house tomorrow night, which would have been a Monday night, because it's on Sunday at church, Sunday night. I said, yeah, right over there. I said, what you going to do? He said, we're going to go over and go night hunting. He said, the statute of limitations done run out on this. I done checked, but anyway, he said, we're going to go over and kill a few deer over there for Daddy. He said he got a farm over there. I'd done been over a couple of times. The old man still used a mule to plow his fields with. And he was a great old man. I enjoyed talking to him. But he said, Daddy needs some deer meat, and he ain't killed none this year. Nobody brought me any deer meat. And I told him I'd come over tomorrow night and we'd get him some deer meat. He's all to do is kill a couple, and said, that'll get Daddy through for another year. And he said, back then, a lot of y'all on here are my age and older and know that that's what people in the woods lived off of. They actually lived off the land back then. And he wanted some deer meat. So we went over there. We went to his daddy's house. His daddy come out and he had a beat up old pickup truck. He said, y'all getting that? I'm afraid I'm going to say this man's name. A lot of y'all know him. But anyway, he said, y'all jump in the back of that truck. He said, y'all get up there. And he said, I'm going to ride y'all down. He said, I got 40 acres down the road. He had land scattered everywhere. He owned a lot of land. He said, we're going to ride on that 40-acre tract. He said, a lot of people been seeing deer run across the road there at night. So I believe there's going to be some in there. So it's okay. So we jumped in the back of the truck, and on our way down the road, the guy told me, Billy, I'm going to just say his name, first name, but I might say his last here in a minute, but Billy told me, he said, look, if something happens now, the game warden gets after him. Anybody get after us? He said, you run one way and I'll run the other. He said, Daddy's going to take off in the truck. He said, he ain't got a gun in there. He said, I ain't going to do nothing to him. So I said, okay. But after I said that, I got to thinking, I'm not going to leave him. I don't even know where I'm going. Here I am, 12 years old, and I don't know even how to get back home or who to talk to get back home. So I done made my mind up that wherever he goes, I was going with him, because that's the way it was. I wasn't going to get lost in them woods. But we went off in those woods, and nobody told me there was a cemetery back there. And there's a cemetery on a little hill we crossed, and I didn't know it, but when we made a turn in the road, the old man hit his brakes and lit to it. Now, some of y'all know that tombstones, those headstones, they got a shine to them, a sheen on them. It makes them, they're like a clear coat paint on them. And when them brake lights hit those things, several of them lit up. And I turned around and I told Billy, I said, there's game warden. He said, what? I said, lights all behind us. I'm just a kid. And man, he come in, he jumped out there. He hit the top of that truck real hard. He jumped out there. And he was gone before I even thought about getting out of the truck. And I thought, well, I was all confused. I said, heck with this. I just jumped out behind him. And he took off running. And I tried to stay with him. The truck took off. The old man done took off in the truck. He was gone. So I was trying to stay up with this guy that I was hunting with, and he took off, and I tried to stay step for step with him, but he was about 20 yards in front of me. When he'd take a left, I was killing myself out in those woods. I was hanging up in trees, and it was terrible. I had vines cutting my face, stickers poking all in me. And I didn't have no flashlight. He didn't. He dropped everything but the gun. And we run across this old bottom, and I could hear him cutting across it, and it wasn't a minute I was behind him. He'd go up one hill, and I'd stay with him, and he'd turn to the left, and I'd go off to the left. I wasn't really right behind him. I was using the sound of his crashing, trying to stay with him, crashing through the woods. And finally I started catching him. He was 60 years old. He was getting tired. I was 12. I could have run to New Orleans if I wanted to. So we just was crashing through them woods. He'd take a right. I'd try to stay in behind him. Finally, he just bailed off over in a big old pile of broke down tree limbs and vines, old kudzu vines. I dove right up in there with him. He hollered, I give up! I give up! Oh, I give up! And I hollered, I give up too! I give up! And I was laying up there next to him. He looked over at me and he said, son, didn't I tell you're supposed to go another way? He said, I've been running for you for 15 minutes. I thought you was a game warden. I said, well, I've been trying to keep up with you for 15 minutes. I said, I'm about dead now. Boy, I tell you what, he fussed at me all the way back out on side that road. And he got even madder when I told him all I saw was some red lights, and we figured out it was the lights on the back of that pickup truck done lit that tombstones up. He never invited me to go back over there hunting with him at night. Matter of fact, he didn't he didn't really care much about me much after that. But hey, I was 12 years old. You think I'm gonna run off in them woods by myself over McLean, Mississippi? No, not me. I hope y'all enjoyed that.